with it some other time.
Yeah. That's all. I can't even get an intern either. You know why? Because we haven't made the big bucks from, what is his name? Howard Stern type information. The Howard Stern type contracts yet. Where we get paid $20 million for a 7-year contract. That's what we're working on with Spreely TV. $20 million for 7 years. I'll do it. All right, kids. This is
for the stars.
Good afternoon. This is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely TV. Are you watching on your Roku, your Fire Stick, your Apple, whatever you are? You watching on your smartphone, your desktop? Are you watching live? Did you know we're live? We're so live. If you're actually watching, you can see in the bottom of the screen there's a number there, 708-982-0974. If you ever want to be part of the show, talk to the guests, ask them questions. Send Jen flowers, whatever you want to do. You can't do that. Oh, Jen Flowers. That's a porn star's name. Yeah. I don't even know if she's still active. Over in the chat, let's see here. We have a show chat on television. Is she active? Beverly Banks, April Schoen, Kelly Wilson, Sarah Nichols. Good to see you guys in the chat. That's the Rants of Izzo show chat, which is available on Telegram if you have that app. Other than that, support the show. Go to Spreely.com and check out everything we have there from the other shows out there like the Burn Pit Podcast, Shannon Joy Show, Report and Opine. Oh, man, why am I going to draw a blank? Pete Santilli is back, so that's pretty damn big. Pete Santilli is back. Evening Rants. And then buy my book, Before the Badge, Everything You Need to Know Before You Become a Cop. It's on Amazon. Support the show. Jen and Mr. Tacos, you guys have anything you want to promote at all? Like your cigars, Jen?
Buy my cigars.
If you go to piratecigar.com, that's singular, not plural, piratecigar.com, and use the promo code Izzo, you'll get a discount on the cigars.
Yay.
Yeah, it's real stellar. Yeah. It's a 60 gauge.
Hi, Jen Cigars. That's my promo.
It's a 60 gauge by 70, by 7-inch cigar. It's probably an hour and 20 minutes smoke. If you're an amateur, it's about 45 minutes for me if you're addictive and all that kind of crap. But it's a great cigar. Oh, let's have a show. We are live on the Spreely TV network in 25 seconds. So for the pre-show people, put it away. Stop playing with it. Just stop it. It's only for you guys. We want to touch ourselves. All right. And on that note, we're going to have a show. We love you. We welcome you. Spreely.com. All things speak freely. If you don't like it here, you're a communist. Go somewhere else. Go to hell.
Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on this show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Damn!
This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your host, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
Hey, good afternoon, America. This is the Rants of Izzo show here on That's rude of me. Not just America. I know we're international. Good afternoon, rest of the world. How you guys doing today? Yeah, we're being broadcast. Like, I have to wonder, like, if I watch, I'm addicted to too much social media, and every now and then, like, some weird suggestion will pop up in my feed, and it's like a third world country of, like, poor African kids who are wearing tattered shorts and whatever Warner Brothers Studio Store t-shirt or Disney Store t-shirt they send them. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then they do something kind of funny and blah, blah. I'm wondering how many of these kids, they're listening to Jen Torres. And they're like, oh my God. And they talk in Khoisan with the clicks and whatnot. And they try to, you know, they look at you maybe on TV and they're like, man, we got it. She's our God because she's a white pasty lady and we've never seen one before.
No,
Good.
No, they call me white devil. White devil. I am White Devil Woman.
Okay. Back in studio, it's another treat. I'm going to see how long this really happens before like these two wise up and start their own back up to their stuff again. Bob and Jen, I don't know how to tell you this. They're just awesome radio people who agreed to start doing every other Thursday with me. You know, Lola sits in on Thursday, and then these two do. See, it's just great. We're having a conversation. We're just having conversations about life. So let's get right into it. Kids, you guys were... and I'm saying like has-beens. You guys were has-beens because I need to stoke the fire to get you back up to go, yeah, we need to do this shit again. You guys used to talk about...
No, never was, actually. Not, to be a has-been, you have to have been, and so I'm a never was. Bill's a has-been.
Well, guys.
Thanks.
Guys are fucking hags. It's ridiculous. You guys used to copy or cover trending stories throughout the world, and I want to know from a citizen's point of view. I've been covering very heavily this horrible, tragic, disgusting, vile shooting of a woman named Sonia Massey out here in Illinois by an Illinois cop. Now I have law enforcement experience, so I did a whole technical breakdown, this and that shit. And I've had on other guests, and over the last 2 days we've talked about it, who have different points of views and stuff. I want to know what like the layman, like how would you guys, if you guys were still on air, would this be something you guys would talk about today? Or, you know, I mean, what if you have you seen the horrible shooting? Because I know that a lot of you, both you two, kind of like to stay out of the negative side of the news.
Correct. So thank you very much. Had you not brought it up as a show topic, I never would have looked it up. But I did find the story on the AP Wire. But I chose not to watch the video. Yes, we definitely would have covered this, Bill and I. Yeah, we were whores for bad news. So this definitely qualifies.
It's funny. We don't really have a round robin order, so I'm just going to speak because I jumped into it. I heard about it when it broke. I saw the body cam footage, and I would have touched on it just as briefly as I could because my utopia is when a murder happens and it is just recognized for the ugliness it is, and the murderer gets charged the full extent of the law, regardless of whether one has a badge or one is a different color. We are in a violent society. We are in a violent world that has been, always will be. And now we have the benefit of body cam footage so we can see it in real time if we so choose. But what I saw or what I read about was a murder. And if I'm not mistaken, the last update I did see, the murderer is going to get what's coming to him. And honest to goodness, that's really all I care to cover on the subject. I mean, I could certainly talk about it all day, but it's mostly the reaction that I like is because, they're two different colors. Yeah. Now it's a juicy topic because he obviously had a problem with black people. He probably was just a horrible cop with a itchy trigger finger, and he failed every psych test and swept it under the rug by his superiors. Why can't bad people just be bad people if the other person just happens to be a shade darker or lighter than the other one? We go share because that's just the hot way to do it because we are just one word or phrase sideways away from another riot, and this close to election season too. But I'm not really going to go that route. But that's my feeling on the subject. Murder is bad, and I really hope he pays for it if, in fact, that the facts come out, and he gets punished. Period.
That's the direction I kind of wanted to go on a weird. I don't need another breakdown. I thought it was horrible. I thought it was absolute murder. I thought it was ridiculous, but. A ton of stuff you covered is kind of like what Jen talks about too, because over the last several years, Jen, you've been really into human behavior and human nature, and just hearing everything that Bob just said. I want to know from both of you. It's for me the fascination having you on, having a conversation is kind of like media based, right? It's like the psychology of human beings, and knowing that every day for God knows how many hours when you guys had your job, you had to keep people engaged, and here we are. The engagement rate of people is almost based on conjecture, whatever we choose to tell them. I don't have a clue. I said this the other day about Biden, that I do not have any insight into that man's heart. I've never been in a room alone with him. He's never confided in me. But based on the things I've seen him say, it is my personal opinion he's a racist. That's just it, right? And that's still not fair for me to say because I don't know. But why do we do this shit? Why do we look and go, oh, that cop hated black people? Or why do we sensationalize everything? And that, again, I will always kind of default back to you guys, especially when somebody's a better profession than I am. That was your profession. You guys were on air, terrestrial radio, and didn't you kind of have to sensationalize stuff and whatnot?
Well, okay. Not sensationalize. The thing that made the 2 or 3 people watch our show, apparently my internet connection is unstable, so I'll let Bill talk.
Your internet's fine so far.
Well, what I really enjoy doing, and I guess enjoy is a little too positive over this very somber topic, is react to the reaction. That's what I was big on. As I always could predict the reaction of something coming up, and this was exactly as stereotypical as racism in the race card itself. You know, that when you hear about somebody doing something horrible to the other person, the first thing on people's mind, whether they want to or not, particularly if they're in our line of work, or in my case, X industry, what color are they? And is there wheat in there? And is it topical? And unfortunately, had the colors been the same, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. So I almost feel like a hypocrite talking about it. What I really want to say is, back on my first point, is it's not worth talking about if, in fact, justice is being served, and that the wheels of justice are turning right now, and he is in handcuffs right now. And I don't know where this guy is. But if he's not in a cell, something's wrong. And if he is in a cell awaiting trial, then it's really not worth going any further, because if you do go further, it's the subject that is the elephant in the room. Like, so is this race-based? And what really irritates me most about this, and I may be going off the rails, what I do. I have been out of the business so long. I don't really have any real focus anymore like I used to. It might be age, whatnot, but I am an individualist versus a collectivist. And I really think that that's my number one problem with society as far as socialism is concerned. Something happens, and then, depending on what side you are on, it is okay or not okay to just blame a whole society of people, a whole tribe of people. And when a cop blows away somebody else, particularly of a different race, all cops are racist, or all white cops are racist. And for some reason, that has been somehow accepted if you're on the right side of things. And I have always been against that, because that leads to, what do we as a society do about it? And I'm like, well, I don't know what you're going to do about it, because there's something. So when I'm looking at social media, and honestly, just for a good laugh or a shake of the head, you see some moron doing some moronic things, and I'm beginning to wonder if 99% of them are staged to just get interaction and clickbait and stuff like that. But when somebody does something ugly or horrifying, from human perpetrating ugliness onto another human, my word, or the ones that really tick me off are the comments is, "What's wrong with us?" And then all of a sudden, I'm like, that is a collectivist talking. What's wrong with people? What's wrong with this country? What's wrong with this? I'm like, what's wrong with that person? I didn't do anything. And it puts me on the defensive, because I did nothing. So when somebody just wants to do away with the Second Amendment, because we as a society have proven that we are not responsible enough to hold on to these little death machines, it is the same thing as just a government official knocking on my door and saying, "Hi, Mr. Tacos. Of course, you've probably read the story about the guy in Minnesota. He did a lot of really crazy things with the gun. So we, as the government, have determined that you, as a society, I really, cut the mustard as far as being responsible to have a handgun. So if you have any handguns because of that guy, we would like to go ahead and confiscate them for you, please, for your own good, for society's own good." I am an autonomous libertarian. I'm a conservative, most of the time Republican. But I basically am, leave me alone to do what I want. And until such time I infringe on the rights of other people, it's none of your damn business. Mm-hmm. And if somebody does something terrible up there, well, I hope they get what's coming to them. And I'm going to make one last point, I promise. I know this is becoming the Bob Taco show for a second, but I have one more thing.
We're good with that.
Oh, it's when something like this, and then it boils down to the subject of gun. And gun violence is a code word for the people that want to disarm society, in my humble opinion. So when somebody says, what are we going to do about gun violence? How can we stop gun violence? How can we affect gun violence for the better so we can all feel safe? The ugly truth, in my opinion, again, is you can't. You can't stop something from happening. And that is a truth that most people don't want to admit, at least publicly, when there's a microphone and there is an election coming up. You can't stop gun violence, at least not in a free society. You can't stop any crime from being committed. I have an anecdote. When I was in radio, and my shift started at 3-4 in the morning about a karma chameleon years ago. I used to take the same route, and it was not very far, but I had about 15 traffic lights, right? So over time, I'd look this way, I'd look that way, I'd check my rearview mirror, and if there was nobody coming, went right through the red light, okay? I got places I got to go. And there was nobody coming. One day, a cop pulled next to me on one of the arguably longest lights in Tampa Bay. Everyone's got a light that's longer than any other light. This one was the longest light, and a damn copper showed up next to me. I look over to him. He looks over to me. We give the old guy nod. How you doing? How you doing? And I look at this light. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to late for work because I'm not going to go through the light. I have decided that. But at that moment, I also did this. If I decided to run that light, he couldn't stop me. We got a cop, a law enforcement individual, armed to the teeth, inches away from me, and he can't stop me from breaking the law if I decided to do it. Okay, law enforcement can do only two things. One, punish you for doing it after you've done it, or if you're taking time to do it, they can stop you in the middle of it or cut it short, which actually gets to, the Second Amendment. You can stop a spree pretty quickly if everybody in the room is also pointing the other direction with a gun. So that is my point, is I don't like it when people say, what are we, all of us individuals who are innocent of such heinous crimes, going to do to prevent that from happening? And the short answer is we can't.
Jen, do you think we're pointing in a direction? No, that's fucking, I'm almost gotten chills. Do you think that you ever see the movie?
Well, I mean, we've.
Go ahead. I was going to ask you about pre-crime. Are we on a path where we're going to be doing preventative measures by saying, all right, since this is such an outcry, we're going to, since toxic masculinity is such a problem in the world, we're going to castrate or chemically castrate all boys when they hit to be 13 years old to prevent rape. And then if they prove themselves in a good society, then we'll reverse the process. Are we at a pre-crime place in life?
Well, they're trying to create pre-crime, but the issue with that is that you get more of what you focus on. So if we spend all of our time focusing on the fact that all white males are going to do certain things, or all black males are going to do certain things, which is the problem with our policing today. The presumption has been, and they've been teaching that way since the 70s, 80s is really when it started to take over, the idea of if you fit within these boxes, then most likely you're going to commit these crimes. But then they say that it's not institutional. It is. It's not about racism. They're looking at it as statistics, right? But things change, and societies change, and people change, and neighborhoods change, and they don't give room for that. There is something called game theory, and you can game theory and figure out that's what they're doing with us in political news right now, and the conversation bubbles that they float to see how the American public is going to respond, and it's happening nationally as well. But the police department isn't game theory. They're not that smart. They're just looking at old statistics and deciding how to train their officers and where to focus their attention. This young man that did this thing, talking specifically about this shooting, he felt that she was going to attack him. She was obviously agitated and confused and has a history of mental illness. He may not have been aware of the mental illness, but he felt a danger in the situation. The problem is this idiot couldn't register the fact that even if she threw a pot of boiling water in his direction, it was not going to be deadly. It was going to be an owie, and she did not deserve to be shot for that.
How do you feel about the public? Because it blows me away. I actually put a post up earlier. I said that how many people out there are praying to God that the coroner report will come back that she had fentanyl in her system. And my reference to that is the George Floyd. I am one of the few people out there who saw what Chauvin did, and then a year later, throughout the whole year, everybody condemned Chauvin. And then it comes out George Floyd had fentanyl in his system, so then they condemned George Floyd. I'm one of the few people that really broke that issue down and said, no, Chauvin may have not caused Floyd's death, but what he did was punitive. He punished and tortured Floyd. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And he should not have knelt in a position that long, should not have been done. But the amount of people who, and this is where I lose faith in society, I love the Constitution. I love the concept of law enforcement where it didn't matter if I was Christian, white, conservative, if a gay, liberal, radicalized Muslim person said, hey, they got to call 911 because somebody's trying to set their house up on fire. I have the moral obligation that I swore to the oath of the Constitution to do the job unbiasedly. And I did it. And I say all the time, today's victim is tomorrow's offender and vice versa. It doesn't matter when people look at, well, George Floyd held a pregnant woman at gunpoint and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. In that moment, whatever George Floyd did in the past has really no relevancy unless you're like, well, he's known 10 out of 10 times that we dealt with him, he pulled a knife on us. Okay, then you know that pattern is established. But where do you think Americans are with this mindset of like people are actively searching or trying to justify in the comment section of the content I've done on this massive shooting so far, they are actively trying to do mental gymnastics to justify her being shot. Well, if she just complied, she had a boiling pot of water. And I've even broken it down to say he had no lawful authority to be in the house, sans her inviting him in. She was not under any criminal investigation whatsoever. She could have told them to leave anytime. She, in the totality of that, when you think about it, broken down, the police are guests in her home. She has every right to have a fucking handgun in her hand. It's her home.
Right.
But so why is it that people by human nature are going, well, and then they're doing the same thing as you find out somebody's a rape victim? Well, what were you wearing? Why are we doing that with law enforcement in a free society that's supposed to sit there and benefit us all? Either one of you got the floor on that one.
Well, I would say if he was called to he and somebody else, he wasn't the only one on the scene, correct?
Yeah, two officers were called to and I did a whole breakdown on this on our Spreely.video. You can go check that out. They were called for a prowler complaint outside. And
correct.
Based on what they saw, they checked the area. She really wasn't answering the door. They could have cleared the scene. The officer, if you really watch it, he escalated everything. But go ahead.
Well, if you think about it, though, so if you've got someone that's called and said there was a prowler, you get there and you don't see a prowler. You see evidence that there might have been somebody there. There's windows broken out of a car next door. And the woman is either not coming to the door. When she does come to the door, she's acting agitated, like something's up. Then the presumption could be that the person is now inside the house.
Correct.
And she's in duress and she's under threat, but she doesn't want to say anything, or she doesn't know what to say, or she doesn't know how to act in that situation. So he assumed himself into the front door to protect her. But the problem was that he wasn't aware of her illness, number one. And number two,
I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back for a second. That is what a logical, rational person would say and think. We watched, I broke down the entire body camera footage. That was not his intentions. His intentions was frustration. She called me out of my car, 90-degree weather, 12:50 a.m. She's not answering the door. He was there because he was pissed off, and now he wanted a little bit of, well, now I'm going to fucking, make you do X, Y, and Z. So what you said operates under the guise of a rational thinking public servant.
Right.
He was not.
But this is what I'm saying is you can't say, okay, well, there's no reason he should have been there or been in there. There are reasons why a normal police officer would take those actions. And I don't want police officers to then go, well, you know what? I was here. I didn't see anybody outside. She didn't answer the door. I'm sure everything's fine, and bolt. And in the meantime, I'm in the kitchen with a knife to my throat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So each time one of these incidents happens, we can't have that change everything that the department does in that neighborhood. That's not for the benefit of anyone. This one officer was the issue. Now, could we have known that he was going to be a massive failure as an officer and avoided it? That's the question. Why are we hiring these people? Because they can't find anybody to hire to be a cop right now. Nobody wants to do the job.
Yeah, Jen and I had this conversation off the air many times. This This anti-police officer thing, I think, is finally yielding the results. It's hard to get police officers, and the police officers that are good have finally decided to put their arms up and saying, "I'm not getting any support, not by the higher ups and not by the society at large." Every time I go into a neighborhood who call me to help, I'm getting pelted with God knows what on my way out the door, and my cruiser is being rocked back and forth. They've had it. So as a result, I'm just kind of spitballing. In order to get police officers, you're going to have to dumb down the requirements somewhat, and then just kind of say, well, he might be a little crazy, but we need people. And this is a result. And that's when perception becomes reality, unfortunately. So this guy's obviously a hothead. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience. I have seen the TV show Cops. That's my experience. And I felt I would have handled that situation better because I haven't seen a single episode of Cops where they walk in and everybody's like, "Hi, can I get you a cup of coffee?" Everybody's agitated. Everybody appears like they're on some sort of chemical. Everybody. And this woman called because there was a prowler. Of course, she's going to act like a lunatic, whether she's a schizo or not. And he should be aware of the fact that she's going to be jittery. She is going to be jittery. She didn't call and invite them in for tea. She called in and said, "Please, 911, there's somebody around here and you need to help me." And he needed to prepare to get a tongue lashing. And for God's sakes, if he didn't mention, if I read this correctly, if he didn't mention that boiling water on the pot or in the pot, it would have been non-issue. And we have the benefit, unfortunately, and this is where I lean more 99.9% on the police officer's side. You, me, and Jen are just sitting there and playing armchair quarterback, and we can look and look and look and look again. This is a minute and a half in this guy's life, and I'm sure, unless he is a truly evil person, he probably take it back. But what's done is done, and he's going to get punished, or he should. But this is one of the 1,000 reasons why it's really hard to get good people to wear the uniform anymore.
That standard, like when you talk about that kind of stuff, it goes through my mind all the time. I lived an hour and 15 minutes away at one point. I worked in a town called Round Lake Park, and I lived in Naperville. And I would have to leave 3:35 in the morning to get there for my 5 a.m. shift. I worked 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then when I would leave at 5:10 at night, it would be a 2-hour drive home. I made $60,000 a year, right? And it's like, and they were shitty people you interacted with on a daily basis. And the command staff just fucking browbeat you. And it was my choice. I actively chose every day, I'm going to go back and do this. I could have gone back to being a bartender, made $120,000 a year, working 5 hours a night close to home. But I chose because I had passion in it. When you look at today's candidates, I put up a question or post the other day. I said, how we solve law enforcement issues are, and I listed a bunch of things like remove qualified immunity, go from certifications to licensing that have to be renewed biannually, fitness standards have to be every year, and then 100% passing grade on both the Constitution test and your firearms proficiency. And then I listed a couple of other things, like minimum age of being 30 instead of 21. And the amount of people who just jumped on there, well, you're going to have to raise the pay then. And I started to think about that. So in a nutshell, $60,000 a year fucking sucked. Driving an hour and a half in the mornings, getting up at 3 o'clock in the mornings to start work at 5 for a 12-hour shift sucked. Driving back home in traffic sucked. No personal life, shitty people. But the perks were huge. The integrity of that job, the badge in your back pocket, off duty, which guaranteed me almost immunity from fucking anything, speeding, waiting in line at a fucking club, free tickets for shit, the amount of cops who abuse DUI laws because they know they're going to get out of it. And to sit there and think that, let's just take the integrity issue. It's like, man, I worked in a town where, those people weren't as good as I was. Meaning, I was a better human being. I lived in a fancier neighborhood. I made more money. I was their fucking public servant. So my mentality was never, don't know the Constitution, don't have proficiency in your firearms, don't have this and that. I was embarrassed by a friend of mine who I bragged online. I went to a 40-hour Constitution test, and it was a Fourth Amendment search and seizure. And I posted up online how I got a private email from the instructor congratulating me out of 40 people, including sergeants and lieutenants. You're the only one who got 100% perfect score. So I'm bragging. Everyone's, yay. And my buddy who's a cop goes, every single cop in that class should have gotten a perfect score. I went, fuck.
Right.
So why is it? Why are our standards of expectations so low for the very men and women who have the right and authority to seize you, take away your freedom, and take away your life if they can lawfully articulate it every day? Why are our standards so fucking low and we just accept it?
Because we don't have a choice.
It's supply. We don't have the supply of candidates. The same thing you said in the world of education. I mean, particularly in the state of Florida, we can't get teachers. So we go, well, she'll show up and she'll get here slightly earlier than the kids, and she tries real hard. Oh, you're hired, and please don't screw it up, or don't screw it up big time. It's hard to get teachers, but it's also very, very, very difficult to fire them if they prove sucky. So, I'm basically just saying government employees to begin with, raise pay. Sure, that usually is the nice little fallback position. We'll pay them more, then more people will show up. Not necessarily, because like you said, the passion, never mind the perks. You deserve the perks. Everything that you just said, I'm like, yeah, you deserve all that and more. And 60,000, and that's Chicago dollars. 60,000 down in Tampa, or at least back when, probably would have taken you a little further than up there. But be that as it may, you were the type of person that didn't do it for the money. And a lot of people say that's why they are admired by the people who know them the best. Same with teachers, cops and teachers. If if you grow up being raised right, that those are heroes. Part of the reason that they're heroes is because they don't do it for the money. You hear about it 1,000 times every time it feels like it's the need to do it. They do it because of the kids. They do it because they care about people. They do it because they care about the job, making a difference, helping other people and all that. And then they spend the rest of the time wondering why they don't get paid enough. I never, ever since I knew what a teacher was, paid was probably followed just very soon after. So I don't understand why people, I want to be a teacher. Well, welcome aboard. And they're like, man, my pay sucks. I'm like, what? You didn't know that? So there's a lot of people that just don't want to get involved, because that would have been my response to that. If you want to make $100,000 a year, don't teach kindergarten, do something else. And some of them can't do anything else. And there's another problem.
Yeah, we suck.
Well, I think a lot of what you're talking about, as far as who or why we hire, Bill and I don't have any choice in who is hired. You don't have any choice in who is hired. It's the people that are in charge of the departments that decide who is hired. And we know that typically police departments, sheriff's offices, they've become, highway patrol, geez, crazy. They've become extremely political. So people who are administration and in charge of those kind of decisions are now, they're focused on their legacy. They're focused on their public opinion. They're focused on their political connections. They're focused on their future aspirations, and less able to actually do the job vis-a-vis becoming the head of the presidential security detail that just shit a great big burger. We don't get a say in that. We can't change that. Well, all we can do is know our neighbors and keep an eye out for people. And if we see something going wrong, either with a police officer or somebody against a police officer, speak up, speak our minds, and keep the information out there.
There you go. So information. Does the lack of information kind of bother you? I've always thought about this. So you look at your favorite sports team, and I'm not a sports guy, and you've got the stats of whatever MLB player is up to bat that day, or whatever NFL guy is, where they went to college and what their injuries are. This is how I said we should solve this. Every single, and you start with like social media. You have live technology. We're live right now. I think that every police department should have a Facebook page dedicated to their department. And on their page, this is your starting lineup for the midnight shift tonight, 11 to 7. Officer so-and-so, officer so-and-so, officer so-and-so. And you can click on there and read their entire bios, including disciplinary action, grades and scores on their academy test, you name it, whatever. And then you have a full live stream. If their shift is 8 hours or their shift is 12 hours, nonstop, uninterrupted, audio and video live stream from their body cameras. So if they're sitting in their car for 5 hours not doing anything, that's what you get that night, because we're all voyeurs and we all watch TikTok lives and Instagram lives. I think if we started treating the starting lineup of our departments and the players on there the same way we do with NBA players and NFL players, you'd have a different accountability and responsibility, and maybe you would have those people who would leave and go, I'm not doing this. I don't want people to know who I am. People like me would have loved it because we're media whores. I would have fucking loved that. Yeah, this is me. I would have been
exactly.
10 times more proactive.
And that brings me to a question, though, of how many people would that get in the way of them being able to focus and do their job properly? Because in high intense situations, do you want that nagging of, I'm performing for tens of thousands, or depending on how big the department are, or how many people might be watching? I mean, that could be a danger in itself. Then you're going to get media whores like yourself, which I'm surprised you're not more into sports, because you built like a tight end.
Yeah, I know.
But then on the other hand, as a person in media, we'd watch that stuff before we had TV that was on after midnight. People sit and they listen to the radios. And when my first husband was a cop, we used to sit and listen to the radio so we could hear all the calls and, all the responses, and shooting at such and such, and officer so-and-so responding. You sit there and you listen to the CB radio all night. People are into that. They listen to the radio. They find out where the fires are. They're fire truck chasers just to go see what the drama is. I mean, people love that crap. So, to have more eyes on the situation. So right now they're doing that whole thing of, look, we have cameras on us, so we have live camera footage, but you don't get to see it. You only get to see what they decide to submit in court. You don't see the whole thing, number one. That's been my experience. And number two, it's not it's a process to get access to it. It's not like it's openly available. If there were open access and there was that much accountability, but again, we're already talking about the fact you can't find people who want to be police. Yeah. You put that kind of accountability out there, you're not going to get anybody that's going to want to be a cop except for an attention.
Wow. Okay.
Now, on Jen's point, it's a nice idea, but her final point was very valid. It's hard enough to get people as it is, because a nice easy thing is to raise the standards. Everybody should get 100% on their Constitution test, and then when they fall short, get 95s, you're out, and then you have 2 people left for entire city. Then you have to expand it. You're forced to expand. It's not out of desire. It's not out of feeling that that's the right to do. It's feeling like we need to put the butts in this for this shift, and this is the only way we have to do it. Also, she also raised another point on this high intensity thing. When I hate to use a Top Gun reference, but there's a line that kind of sticks to my ribs there. When you think you're dead, you have to go on instinct. And the last thing I need is somebody putting their life on the line every single day to hesitate at the moment of truth because they know they're on TV, and then it winds up getting them killed. Not going to the extreme measure of that, but I need them to focus on not focus on being watched all the time, because I don't think there's a job anywhere where you don't, take the time to just be yourself, get a little closer to your coworker and go, can you really believe this asshole? And then you're not going to do that anymore. And then all of a sudden, you're censoring yourself, and that's just that.
Yeah,
it's good in theory, but I think in practicality, it's just going to turn people into very unhappy people, because some of the best moments in my professional life are the ones that were off the record. Nobody heard except the person I was whispering to.
Maybe that's just it. Maybe that's just from being exposed so much, and like so much of my private life is not private at all. Like I had people think that they can do gotchas on me all the time. I had a woman yesterday, because I love to use the C word, C-U-N-T, and she put up in a comment section of mine, "Oh, do you call your mother that?" And I 100% said, yes, I did, to her face before she died. And I unleashed 40 years of anger and pissed offness on her. And I have no regrets about it. So it's like every time, and I did this when I went to the election too. They're like, oh my God, you're a womanizer. And I'm like, yeah. So I like, for me personally, I think that's just it, is I have always said, show the reality of life, to where I pull you over for a traffic stop and my body camera starts recording. I walk up to the car and I look and I say, hey, Miss Torres, I'm Officer so-and-so from the so-and-so police department. And you give me whatever attitude, which is 100% lawful and legal and protected by the Constitution. I just don't like it. I maintain professionalism. I go back to the squad car, shut the door, and I go, what a fucking cunt. You should be allowed to do that. I should be allowed to fucking do that, to show the reality of it, because I didn't take that out on you. Now, all of a sudden, now if we had more things like that, maybe if I write you 20 fucking tickets and come back to you for having you on an hour-long traffic stop, and every one of those tickets is lawful, every one of them, well, maybe now the jury can go, oh, this was not a law. This was a personal thing for you, officer. This woman's attitude bothered you. Maybe it would hold them more accountable as well, too. So I'm in the middle of the fence there, to where I want a massive, massive, massive standard for policing to be done. We're public servants. Well, now I'm not one anymore. It's a profession. You have the right and responsibility to take away somebody's freedom whenever you fucking can say so, and you could take away somebody's life. And for the most part, you're always, always, always protected. So, I mean, yeah, both of you guys got great insights on it. And I'm kind of glad we had that kind of conversation. I want to move on, unless you guys have any.
Better?
No,
I'm down.
Pent up.
I'm ready to move on. I was ready to move on.
I want to talk about, yeah, well, I know, I appreciate you going through this painful process of, just having an adult conversation with me and, and Bill.
Yeah.
All right. So it is political. I want to, you guys have been reporting the news for years. In the last 2 weeks, a week, in the last week, 2 weekends, you have seen, and we're all relatively the same age. I think, Bill, you're the oldest. I was 6 when Reagan was shot. So, Jen, I think you were 8 or 9. And then, Bill, I don't know how old you are, but you got to be, maybe there. That's the last time, I want to know, you guys have seen a literal president shot just last week, and then another president resigns the week after, and then there is no clear support for one candidate within a party that's it just all over the place, and the election is a mere 3 months away. How do you guys feel for all this?
It's awesome. This has been the best month of my life. I mean, honestly, take away the fact that a man got shot, and I'm not going to gloss over the seriousness of that, and I'm not here to talk about that, but particularly the ugliness that ensued by the opposition, which I think is hysterical. Going back again, I like to react to the reactions. Like, is anybody so surprised? It's like, you're not going to Nazi dictator, Nazi. Uh-oh, are we cool? Can we just take a step back? No. Or the other side of it, it's, did you expect, because you're like, did you hear what they said on The View? I'm like, honestly, and if anyone's listening that actually posts clips from The View, I honestly can tell you that I would never know this show was on the air if people didn't post clips of The View on social media and go, did you hear what Joe Behar said? And I go, yes, this just in. Some stupid bitch said something stupid on The View. Move on. It's going to happen again tomorrow. And it's the whole infighting. I think that's their bread and butter. I think they're in kickbacks on the interactions that are online. That thing would have been canceled years ago. Anyways, so moving on, the whole Kamala thing, I think, is also hilarious because you mentioned sports reference. I think we're all, and I mean we, I don't mean we, the lunatic left that are showing this groundswell of positivity and support for this brand new, spanking, shiny, young, hip candidate. They're suffering from the honeymoon of the backup quarterback. And to go real quickly, when a team is struggling, usually for simplistic reasons, it all goes down to the most expensive player on the team, which is the quarterback. And if the quarterback is starting to suck and the team is starting to lose, the most popular player seems to be the guy with the clipboard on the sidelines going, throw the new guy in. Throw the rookie out of USC, give him a shot. And then they put him in, and the whole stadium goes, yay! And then 2 or 3 interceptions later, they go, fuck! So, right now, we're going, yay! Not we. I think Kamala's a joke, and it's going to be proven. Anybody who says we're too close to the election to expose her, I'm like, not in this world. Maybe back in the day when we had 3 networks and Sesame, it would take a while for the actual truth to come out. But we don't have to wait till 6 o'clock to find out what happened today. We can find out right now. So she's going to be exposed, or I guess reminded, that she is a dunce, just a slightly younger dunce. And once she's exposed, I'm going to say re-exposed, because we all knew that when she was booted out, it was the smartest thing the Democratic Party did. She could get a percent. She had 3% in her own state. So once they realized that, hey, she's just a cackling California communist, then things just going to be reset. So I'm just sitting back, got some popcorn in the microwave, and it is going to be a dumpster fire of all dumpster fires, and I'm down with it. I think it's great. I think this is something that needed to happen to wake people up.
So it's okay. We're on the Hindenburg going down, and we're the ones going, hey, oh, the humanity, and we're laughing.
Well,
I will say I'm a Trump supporter, and honestly, if I meet you halfway, if you think he's an asshole personally, I'm like, fine. I'd rather have an asshole that was a good president
100%.
than a really a wonderful statesman who screws us over economically and makes us a joke around the world. I really don't care. So
yeah, before Jen goes, I said I supported Obama like crazy in 2008 because I only knew I was not very political, and I just was so enthralled by the passion of a man with such charisma. And then when Trump came up, I was suddenly reminded of the Greek tyrant I worked for in one of my first bar jobs. He was an asshole, demanding, abusive verbally, but the fucking money I made and how tight of a ship that bar ran, I didn't care. He could say whatever he want. I was benefiting huge. So that 100%. I don't care if Trump's an asshole. Yeah.
it was huge. Interesting that you say that, though, because we're hearing sources say, you know how it is, how Kamala treats her staff behind the scenes, how Biden talks to people behind the scenes, how Michelle talked to people behind the scenes, how Hillary treated people behind the scenes. So while we're looking at Trump and going, wow, what a bombastic asshole he is, he's just speaking truth, but he's not disrespecting people to their face. And whenever he was in the White House, there weren't any reports of Trump berating people and shitting on the help. I'm sorry. So there's the show you see.
Sorry.
There's the show you see. And then there's everything that we don't see. So how do we make our decision? We make our decision based on the fact that we like somebody's hair, we like somebody's skin color. We are particularly, enchanted by their cackle.
Mm.
Or do we, I love the fact that she laughs. I think that's a very good thing. I love that she just all the time. That's fantastic. She's very lighthearted. She's not taking any of this seriously. That's wonderful as for a human, but for a president, I don't know, So, or do you look at what somebody's capabilities actually are? I want to remind everyone that president isn't the one writing the laws. He's either signing it or he's vetoing it. The people writing the laws are your Congress people. So pay attention to shit. And if you want to get upset about how things are going down, start looking at what's going on in your state. You have a responsibility to educate yourself. Don't be lazy and just listen to what's going on with the big show, which is the presidential race. That's bakaka compared to what we've got to really pay attention to in our neighborhoods, in our towns. Who's running for dog catcher? What kind of a dirtbag is that guy? You just pay attention to what's going on around you. And then, each person individually has to decide how much of a personal responsibility they have as to whether or not they vote. And I have to say, this election, this has been the greatest show. I mean, you can't even imagine. So we got assassination attempts, and we've got this is not the first time. So you had Reagan, who got shot at a couple of times, actually. He only got shot once, but there were several assassination attempts on Reagan, if I remember correctly. And the fact that there was the rumors of him having Alzheimer's before he finished his second term. You remember that?
Oh my God. You remember there was, that's all I remember of Reagan was the nonstop mockery of him. One of my favorite music videos ever, when music videos were a thing, was Land of Confusion by Genesis, where they had the real disturbing puppets on there. And how did it close out? You had Reagan wakes up from a dream and he's like, oh, I'm parched. So he goes to call the nurse and he's got two buttons by his bedside. One was nurse, one was nuke. And they made him dumb, and he pushes the nuke button. They made him out to be just a bumbling idiot every night of the week on the news. Yeah.
Right. And here we are, how many years later, and they're rerunning the script. Just different tag. It's Dem instead of Republican. It's the same shit over and over again. Only they've moved the Overton window just that much more. So when you and you look at it if you're looking down at it from the moon, right?
Well,
then you bring it home.
Speaking of moon, there's a humanoid three-fingered alien mummies that were discovered in Peru. They have straight fingerprints that do not match those of humans, according to an attorney who reviewed one of the controversial specimens. Joshua McDowell, a former Colorado prosecutor and current defense attorney, examined one of the tiny, strange bodies named Maria. With three independent forensic medical examiners from the United States, he and the experts were shocked to discover that the fingerprints on the ET-like corpse were perfectly in straight lines. They were not traditional human fingerprint patterns, he stated. As a former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney, I've seen a lot of fingerprints, and these were not classical fingerprints, he added. More than half a dozen of the so-called alien mummies were revealed by controversial Mexican journalist and UFO enthusiast Jose Jaime Musman, who presented his findings to Mexico's Congress. Do you think this opens the door to the October surprise being aliens landing on the front lawn saying, we're here, we're taking over?
Oh, I'm so ready for that. So
are you suggesting that we not only have discovered it and are basically waiting until October to invite them? I mean, we had that kind of back and forth with them because of the mummies that they found a year ago. We're establishing a nice little. Are they having Zoom meetings right now? Going, okay, don't do it now. Around October, we'll give you the bat signal, and then you just swoop down.
You know, there goes your marketability, though, right? Like in horror films, when you see, like Jaws is a perfect example. When you didn't see the shark, well, you were scared shitless. And then at the third act, you kind of see the shark. You're like, that's intimidating. When you see the entire monster, you're like, all right, it's cool. But when you don't see it, now, as an alien, why would you get rid of your marketability and your status as the thing that goes bump in the night just to score political points and come down and say, hey, we actually have the cure to cancer. We've had it for 7,000 years, and now we're going to give it to you. I don't know what's going to happen. Well,
what I find interesting is that we're about to spend an equal amount of time talking about alien mummies as we did the entire last week of political circus.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, because it's going to happen. Well, what else is there? Like I said, president gets shot, and again, I'm the same way. I'm not downplaying it, but holy shit. Trump actually was shot. I don't care if it grazed him. That's traumatic as shit, man. And then Biden steps down. It's like the Pope when I'm not Catholic anymore, but the Pope resigning. We've only had one other Pope resign how many hundreds of years ago? So you got Pope resigns 10, 15 years ago. You got Biden, president, who basically says, I'm not running again. And I've never seen a president do that. I've never seen one. Nixon resigned because he was impeached, clearly before my time. There's got to be something else. It's like, what else is next other than aliens and gay frogs? Oh.
I mean, honestly, you have a good point.
Here's the deal. It depends on when you ask me. If I just saw Men in Black 3, I'd be going, yeah, you know what? There's something to that. But on the other hand, there are people that I don't believe in them right now. If you ask me some other time, I might give you a different attitude. Right now, I don't believe in them for a couple of reasons. One, this sounds really, I believe in God, and there was really nothing in the Bible about Elliot helping ET phone home. Okay. All that said, they could have mentioned other planets. And when I look up into space on a clear night, or if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no city lights polluting the air, you just see a vast nothingness. And it's easier for me to believe that we're alone in this universe. And even though people say, well, that's just a big waste of space. Number two,
aliens are
and this is one that people haven't thought about. I thought he said that.
I did. I'm sorry. Aliens or demons?
Number two.
That's where I'm at.
No.
Okay.
Aliens
So it might be a little portal to the supernatural, kind of Event Horizon type of thing.
They're here. If you look at I don't mean to cut you off on that, but yeah, I 100% believe that like the demons that were cast, the angels that were cast out of heaven, they're what we see as aliens here. That's what they are. We just call them aliens to further.
Okay.
That's to further disprove.
Okay, honest. Now I wish we need another show about demons versus aliens. Awesome. But two, I'm thinking if I was a government official and I was interested in accumulating power, like we are accusing most, if not all, politicians of doing so, the first thing you do is get rid of God. And what better way to get rid of God in society than to point out that we're all just a vast blender of soup, and there is no higher being, and there was no earth and the heavens.
No. Oh, both of you. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Really?
The idea that there's life somewhere besides on the planet Earth equates to the idea that there is no omnipresent, omnipotent creator that made all of it, which is the idea. It is all still intelligent design. It all was created. The number of people in science who believe that it was all just this mistake, accidental bang, and poof, there are these things. That's all started being disproven in the 80s. So there are less and less people in the scientific community that feel that way now. We're not a mistake. We're not an accident. We're not, just a monkey after a million years with a Rubik's Cube finally solving it. That's not possible. The chances of this being intelligent design is almost irrefutable now in the scientific community. They are proving there is a God. So I'm excited that, whether there's aliens or not, I think that, probabilities are that there are other life forms and that they were here long before us as humans, the way we are, came around. That's all cool. That's fine. That's possible. It doesn't affect how I'm living my life right now and the bills I need to pay tomorrow. But the idea that if something's an alien, that has to equate to it being a demon. And that all gets down to the Bible, that one book that is full of allegory, which Jesus said he spoke in allegory. But because of that one book and everybody taking it so friggin' literal and misinterpreting it, over 435,000 rewrites since we found the darn thing. And everybody's like, oh, well, the Bible says that. The Bible talks about angels and demons. The Bible talks about mermaids. The Bible talks about, giants. The Bible talks about all kinds of things that we just kind of gloss over and go, well, that's not a part of my current human experience. Therefore, it must be evil.
See, no. That's why I'm all about. I didn't know you guys like talking about this stuff. I would have talked about this. That's where I go back to the whole.
This is what Bill and I talk about when we're left alone with alcohol.
I love this stuff. This is why I go back to things like Hillary Clinton asking if they had Gilgamesh's tomb and the resurrection chamber, because that's Nimrod. He was the one who built the Tower of Babel, going up to God. And I agree with Bill's point too. I'm a black and white guy. I believe the Earth is only 6,000 years old because the Bible says so. I believe God created Earth in 6 days, and I believe that something like NASA says, well, yeah, we're going to say the Earth is round, even though I have no way of proving it, because this way then there's an error. God says the Earth is flat with a dome. NASA says it's not. That's the first way right there you start to discredit the Bible, and you get people to stop believing it. So I love this topic. I had no idea you guys enjoyed this.
Well,
whatever you got, man.
Dude, I don't smoke pot, but I'd love to with this.
We have issues. We can talk about anything. We can make anything a problem. We can be protagonist, antagonist, anything. Toss it at us. We're like fantastic debaters. We're master debaters.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's we got like 60. Go ahead, Bill.
No, just putting a bone Jen said, I believe everything that she is. If all of a sudden aliens just plop down, I could say that doesn't remove the concept of God. I'm just saying that the government, who basically gets up every morning and finds out how to dupe us, will use that.
Oh, 100%.
To further their agenda to say there is no God. See?
Yes,
that's what I mean.
Because it's easier for people to see little green men standing at a podium at the White House. It's easier to comprehend, okay, aliens are real. Oh, you want me to focus on an imaginary God in the sky. I'm going to go with the aliens. That's why they do that. When we know this shit's been around for years. We're all old enough to remember the series V. There are lizard people out there. There are lizard people out there. I'm telling you right on that one.
I used to love that show.
Oh, my God.
That is the most underrated miniseries ever.
Right? Mark Singer, and for the guy who played Freddy Krueger as Willie the vegetarian. Yeah, he was great series.
That one that hot open mouth this wide to put a rat in there.
It was a guinea pig. She swallowed the whole guinea pig. Dude, you know what was weird?
I don't know. He earned my respect that day.
Well, it is, man. If more people understood how hot 80s women were, oh my God. All right, that's the show for today, and we're enjoying this. So now I know next week to bring up more controversial topics like that. I want to talk about the Book of Enoch next week. Let's talk about the Nephilim with the giants. This is going to be fun as shit. That's it. Other than that, guys, do you guys want support, or are you still trying to remain a little bit anonymous?
Yes, please go on to piratecigar.com, and I'm going to give you a code. The code is going to be you missed. The letter U missed, MISSED, and I'm going to give you 50% off the cigars.
Holy shit!
Only this show.
Okay, I'm going to put that up. 50. It's 50%.
Yeah, and this is only for your this is only for your listeners, Izzo. I'm not giving this out anywhere else.
I'm gonna post that. Holy shit. Bill, we love you. We love you long time. Guys, this is awesome having these two back. We're gonna twist their arm and we're gonna get them to do their own show, and it's coming. And you guys are gonna really enjoy the shit out of that. Have a great damn day. Tomorrow closing out the week with Kayla from Flex Your Feminine. And there you go. Have a great damn day. Go out and help somebody today, and if you can't help them, just don't hurt them.